Okay, for the second part of the review, let's talk about maintaining homeostasis. And if you recall, we maintain homeostasis. First off, this is a phrase, this is one of my pick-me phrases. That means that if you see the phrase maintaining homeostasis in an answer choice, it's probably going to be the right answer. Not always, but highly probable. So what is maintaining homeostasis? It means keeping everything stable. So there's lots of ways of talking about this. If you excuse me, if you don't have enough water in your cells, you might feel thirsty, which makes you drink, which rehydrates you. So if your water levels go down, your body does something to make it go back up again. If you get too hot, maybe you've been doing a lot of exercise. If your body temperature, right, goes up, that is detected in your brain. There's your brain. In fact, it's that part of your brain called the hypothalamus, and it makes you sweat, which brings your body down to a nice steady level. If your temperature goes down, maybe you take a dip in an icy pond, that is also detected by your brain. I know my brain kind of looks a bit like Mickey Mouse there. And it might make your teeth chatter and you shiver, which generates heat, okay, which makes your body temperature go back up to that steady level. If you eat a lot of sugar, your blood glucose level goes up, you produce insulin that takes the extra sugar and goes and stores it in your liver back to a normal level. If you don't eat for a long period of time and your blood sugar level goes down, that's detected in your brain and it makes you feel hungry. So you go and eat something, so your blood glucose level goes back up. These are called feedback loops. And a lot of the way in which we maintain homeostasis is by feedback loops. Okay, that's also a pretty important phrase right there. Okay, complementary base pairing. I'm talking about DNA. How do I know I'm talking about DNA? Because I've got T's. Remember, you don't have T's in RNA. So if I have an A here, on the other side, I'm going to have a T. If I have a T here, on the other side, I have an A. A G is going to be a C will be a G. Okay, so if you have one side and they say it's DNA, one side of the double helix of DNA, you know the other side is going to be the opposite or complementary base pairing. A with T, G with C. Okay, while we're talking about universal genetic codes, we're talking about DNA. What is our universal genetic code? It basically means this. All organisms, it doesn't matter whether you are a plant, if you are a fish, if you are a bacteria, it doesn't matter what type of organism you're talking about, it all has DNA, right? And that DNA all has the same nucleotides, and those nucleotides are adenine, thymine, guanine, and cytosine. The A, the T, the G, and the C. It also means this: when you do protein synthesis, right? It doesn't matter whether you're talking about protein synthesis in a fish, a plant, a fungus, or whatever. When you convert the DNA bases into the messenger RNA codons, you use the same codon chart. So CAU, right? C, A, and U would be histidine, whether you're a fish, a dog, an oak tree, or a lettuce, right? It doesn't matter. Everything has a universal genetic code. The same nucleotides, the same amino acids, and the same proteins. That is why, this is the reason why we use bacteria to produce human insulin, because we opened up the bacteria DNA and we put in a section of new DNA that codes for human insulin. And because the bacteria doesn't think it's anything different, because they all have the same ATGCs, then the bacteria is what's making the insulin. That's to do with the universal genetic code. Everything has the same genetic code. All right, while we're talking on here, mutualism, commensalism, and parasitism. We know mutualism is two organisms and two smiley faces, because this one gets something from this one and this one gets something from this one, and everybody's happy. Right? It's a beneficial. I like that word because it's an important word to remember. Beneficial for both. Commensalism, and the example that I like to use is the bird or the insect pollinates the flower. The insect gets food in the form of nectar. The plant gets to reproduce. Or the good bacteria in our gut help us out and we give them food. Commensalism, it's good for one, but for the other, it's kind of neutral. It's not good, it's not bad. It doesn't really, there's no harm and there's no benefit. A bird would build its nest in a tree. That's good for the bird. It gets support and everything, but it doesn't make any difference to the tree. Parasitism, on the other hand, is the parasite itself benefits. It gets food, nutrients, whatever it is, from the other organism, which is the host. It is not good for the host. It almost always has a very negative outcome. Doesn't always kill the host, but often it does, when we talked about heartworms. Okay. Next, I want to go through these three organelles here. So when we see a nucleus, first off, if I'm looking at a nucleus, I know it has to be a eukaryote cell, because prokaryote cells do not have a nucleus. And I know in my nucleus, I'm going to find DNA. That is the only place you find DNA. So the nucleus is where we store our genetic info. If I see something about a ribosome, I have one thing going through my head: protein synthesis. This is where proteins are made. Remember, the mRNA leaves the nucleus when it's been made during translation, and it goes to the ribosome, where it's read and puts amino acids in a particular order. That is the nucleus. The only thing I know about the ribosome. Ribosomes, protein synthesis. Once the proteins have been made, they go to the Golgi body, where they are modified. So we may add things to them. We may add different proteins may get added together. They get modified, they get packaged, and they get sent off to where they need. Remember that Golgi body is the one that everybody always says looks like stacks of bananas. Okay? And that's part 2.